themselves into position for what are we going to win with.
Well, let's see how they switch it up here into picks and bans the second time. LeBlanc and Keane, we didn't get to see him in game number 1. We're not going to get to see him here in game number 2. The teams,
that's okay.
Keeping them out of here.
I don't really like those ones anyways. Too much purple.
Those ones aren't my favorites. We'll just go ahead and leave them.
I've always hated LeBlanc. Just as a jungler, she's been so frustrating to gank. You know, in the past iterations where they're passing and all that, and a lot of fidget spinner. Captain Flowers is completely tilted by the fidget spinner for some reason. I feel like they're just so common that it's not that big of a deal. I mean, he's cosplaying Keane right now with his little.
But Keane's banned. That's the problem. That's why I'm. That's
my biggest thing with those is that when it's actually spinning in your hand, it doesn't really feel weighty, right? It doesn't really feel important until you like kind of move it around and you get a little bit of the torque going.
A little bit of the inertia.
Other than that. Whatever. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, what's here or there.
I'm actually pro fidget spinner, even though I don't own one.
God.
I think it's fine, and people should calm down with it.
I thought you were saying you were a pro spinner of fidgets. Like you were a pro level fidget spinner. Yeah, I was like, what do you mean you're a pro at this? Like this isn't MLG. Like
I don't own one. Meanwhile, though,
okay, we're back into the fans. We're back into the fans.
Here for Team Dignitas Big again. You know, a big smile on his face after last game. He got to play the Rakan. He enjoyed it so much.
He had fun with it.
They prioritized it.
And honestly, I had fun watching it because he did have some really cool plays on it. There were some awesome initiations, like what you talked about with.
We got to see the alley-oop one.
Yeah, we got to see the alley-oop one off of the invisible twitch. He did some cool moves. I'm excited to see him on it again. We're going to get to see MikeYeaung this time, though, instead of Shrimp. He's on the Lee Sin. See if maybe he can get some of those plays. Like what we saw. I'm still remembering Shrimp's kick onto Arrow's Ashe as well. That should have been a kill and ultimately goes south.
People got scared of that Galio big blast zone showing up. All right, let's talk about some theory crafted plays for the Braum Lee Sin, though. This is my funnest game.
All right, what do you got? What do you got?
Basically, it's not that exciting. It's just bottom lane focus by Lee Sin because Lee Sin's super powerful early game. Everybody knows. We always casters say it like every single game. Elise, Lee Sin, so good. You know, ganking early on. Braum lanes are really good at actually punishing Rakan and turning things around like that with the passive, stacking up for those stuns. If there's an overcommitment towards an offensive move here from Rakan, Lee Sin Visitation is something that can really turn around, especially if you do have the Braum, because he easily was able to proc that stun, and you get those chase down kills. That being said, though, obvious answer is Elise is locked in, so playmaking on both sides, early level 3s, and these are the most classic junglers that we've had for years now.
Yeah, they do a little bit of everything. They're always viable unless they're just currently nerfed into the ground in terms of numbers, but that's not the case right now, so they're both still going to be in there, and they're both locked in this game. Taliyah also picked up this time by Phoenix1. Ryu will be on that.
All right, so a little bit more, ability to affect the side lanes here for Ryu. In the last game, they did get a slight lead for him, ganking mid lane, burning some summoners off Keane, but it never really grew into something else, right? This time around with Taliyah, you have the mobility, you have the ability to also shove waves very quickly. So we'll maybe see if Ryu can get off some early ganks, get some roaming in for himself, and really work with MikeYeaung to pull off some of those plays. Because one of the biggest things with Taliyah is jungler plus mid laner interactions.
And you can see by the way the second half of these bans are going what the Galio flex pick potential does to a team, because on the side of Phoenix1, they ban away both a mid laner and a top laner from their opponents, just saying, look, we don't know which one it is, we're going to hit both pools anyway.
Exactly. Gonna take them off the board, and
Phoenix1 was thinking about taking Lod's specialty pick away from him there for a second, hovering over the Twitch, but decided against it, goes with the Varus instead.
All right, so that is a lot of crowd control then from the bottom lane of Phoenix1. Obviously, Braum and Varus can combine to hold you in place for quite a while. No surprise for Team Dignitas, though. Very similar stuff here. They're actually taking a lot of the tools that Phoenix1 picked in the last game. Ashe initiation, a diver plus Galio. Actually, they just have far too much playmaking ability with this Dignitas lineup, and they lock in the Jarvan as well. That is an insane amount of playmaking.
That is so many ways to start fights and make things happen. And picking the Jarvan blind, too. I mean, Jarvan has the burst to deal with squishy top laners, and he has the armor shred to deal with the tanky ones, so you feel pretty comfortable with it.
And I do like, you know, picking Jarvan when Fiora is banned, because Fiora is so good into him. But the kled is also a pretty decent matchup. And I do like that Zig has gone for this one. This is one of the more favorable ones, I think, for kled. I like his commitment into the Jarvan. It definitely does have outplayability there. But, you know, as we said, it's going to be about this team game here. And Team Dignitas have ridiculous amounts of crowd control. So we shall see if the roaming game gets off the ground for Phoenix1. Phoenix1 have the Taliyah wall to work with. Ryu can go to either side lane, and then Zig as well on the kled can force initiation. So very excited to see these two clash. Will Phoenix1 be able to turn this series around and force that game number 3?
That is the question. And these team comps kind of remind me of what we saw from the teams in the first game, right? Because you've got Ryu and you've got Zig on champions that can rotate around the map and play the objective game in a really strong manner. You can wall people off from turrets and take them down. Phoenix1 played an objective game. Meanwhile, Dignitas just says, we're going to kill your dudes. And that's how we're going to win the game. The objectives will come later once we've killed enough dudes, but dude killing is where we're starting this game off.
All right, let's get into part number 2 of dude killing, man.
The Dignitas objective. It won him game number 1. Keane was one of the ones who was really in charge of that. This game, he's going to be taking more of a supportive type role, not going to be on that Victor.
This has me curious now. What is your sort of theme when you play League of Legends, Captain Flowers? Are you on board with dude killing, or are you
Yeah, I usually just go, I play League of Legends to kill dudes.
Okay.
That's part of what I go for. You just look for a dude to fight and you're like, hey, I'm going to get you.
Okay. All right, well, first order of business is Raptor Wards.
Yep, that's
Not
always
dudes.
something.
And we'll see if anybody goes for a kill. I'm still waiting for the sweeper start for somebody, because that's always fun to see. But again,
unlucky.
We didn't have experienced Quince last time around either, so I don't expect there to be any of those shenanigans coming around today.
Maybe if we get a game 3.
Maybe
if we get a game 3, they'll be willing to put it all on the line. But this time around, everybody's playing safe.
Yeah, I always do also look more for level 1 stuff when you see champions like Braum in here. You know, we talked about playmaking there. There is even some decent level 1 stuff here. Chase down potential for early kills with Braum is super big level 1 due to the passive, so a little bit surprised, but, you know, not too much. Everybody just kind of fanning out for the classic defense. And the only little wrinkle we'll have here is that Lee Sin, MikeYeaung here, not going to start on the Raptors for the extra experience. And he's going to do a route starting on his blue that will end on the top side. So I think he does want to meet the Elise here. I talked about the kled being fairly nice into the Jarvan. I'm wondering if they actually want to put more focus on that top lane and try and get Zig, some early advantages for his 1v1 with Ssumday up on top and continue with that strategy. Because MikeYeaung starting down here on blue side is definitely abnormal with the Lee Sin.
Meanwhile, a completely normal start for Shrimp up there at his own Raptor camp. That's one of the nicest parts about having the Galio too. You get an awesome Raptor leash for whoever your jungler is.
Yeah, that's always so nice to get the really strong Raptor leashes. And we'll see. Even more curious as this route develops. He's going for the power clear so far. So it's not the early end up on top lane to affect the 2v2. And Shrimp, because MikeYeaung's doing the kind of power clear here and getting all the camps on the bottom side, Shrimp has the opportunity, though he doesn't know it and hasn't had any vision of MikeYeaung, to move up there quicker if he went right after this double buff. But we'll see if this Scuttle Crab actually draws any attention. That is usually a big point to go after when you do have these double melee matchups that can be turned pretty heavily by jungler intervention.
Shrimp's just going for his own Braum. Both sides seem content clearing through their jungle.
Ah, they spotted him.
Yep, Hawkshot's going to get a look at him right there.
All right, it'll just be the power clear then. So it's a very efficient power clear coming from the bottom side for Lee Sin, but as we said, that does kind of give the initiative over to Shrimp to pull off the first move. Good issues there from Ryu, going to get some vision for his jungler. They did have a theory that Shrimp would go up here because of the hawk shot, and try and get that deep vision. So Ryu does go over to try and cut off his move. Too bad for him though. Shrimp utilizes the auto attack reset W on Elise, kills the ward, and continues with the invade and preps himself for this dive.
Seeing if maybe they can go for something here, but remember, kled is tricky to dive sometimes.
A little bit.
The dismount really troll you if you're not prepared for it. They go for some damage, but as the bear trap on a rope would proc, instead the repel comes up and Shrimp gets out.
Well played by Zig there, utilizing the minions. Now can Keane do the same?
Taunting up to block some damage, Sonic Wave into Resonating Strike. MikeYeaung goes underneath the turret to put some extra damage on there. As meanwhile, bottom lane, Big and Lod trying to trade back and forth here with Shady and Arrow. That Braum, very, very tanky.
All right, Summoner Spell down in the mid lane to watch. Galio, though, can always default to farm mode and just spam out the Wings of War. So Keane doesn't have to put himself in another vulnerable position. He might have to give up some CS to play that way, but it shouldn't be too big of an issue. We'll see if MikeYeaung can continue to camp and actually force something there, though, because, as we said, they would love to get this Taliyah some open space to work with. And a flash down plus teleport down on Galio is a point where they can continue to pressure to try and pry this game open and allow Ryu to enter roam.
And we saw Phoenix1 in game number 1 have a solid early game. They just need to be able to hold on to it in game number 2 and translate that into more based off of the objectives they were able to acquire and the plays that they were able to make. This time around, with that Taliyah and with that kled, the synergy between the two of them, like you mentioned in Champion Select, you can get those guys rolling around the map together really, really easily. You can block off Drakes, you can block off turrets, you can make plays all over the place. Just put a wall up behind them, put kled's X right on the spot next to the wall, and run them down.
Definitely true. Hawkshot again is on point from Lod as well, so not only do you want to, be able to find the jungler with it, but the timer on the camps is actually pretty important. And you will, the higher you get, more and more junglers keep track of the minute 40 respawns on the small camps, not just buffs that you're looking for there, as the small ones really help you continue to track the enemy jungler through those pockets of fog of war. All right, Ssumday just forced to cancel his recall there. Might delay it a little bit.
Yeah, not too big of a deal. Not
see if
just
he's on
yet.
point with number 3 here. Nice one from Lodge. Should be able to hit.
Yup. Finds MikeYeaung right there hanging out in the chicken pit.
And he'll get another timer on the chicken pit. That'll be 7:42, 7:43, the respawn. So they should be able to keep track of him there. See, did Shrimp leave the small Krug? Did he just take the big one away? Yeah.
Yep, just took the big one. Wanted to leave that poor little baby Krug there instead. So only 30 gold goes the way of MikeYeaung.
Never even got to grow up.
Nope, it'll never be a big fat Krug. It's just going to be that little poor baby one.
Oh no!
Oh, this timing could be tragic for Zig. Shrimp shows up into the top lane, finds the cocoon, the burst damage comes out. Zig gets himself into a decent enough spot to have Mike there.
Yeah, so what you want to do when you have kled in lane like this is, as a jungler, I would push up to allow kled to get his autos off to remount before I left.
Oh, but here comes the burst. I don't know if he'll get away in time. He won't. Shrimp's got the first blood.
See, you're not safe on kled in mini form. He's just a Yordle walking around, super short legs. No way you could dodge that. You're only fast if you're charging somebody.
Right.
So number 1 priority, actually, when you are a jungler coming to help out your kled, let him remount. Push up for him so he can get those auto attacks off, because it was super dangerous for Zig there. He didn't have any options.
No.
Meanwhile, we got a little exchange here around mid lane. But yeah, remember, your top laners will appreciate that if you just allow them to get back up on their cowardly steed.
Yeah, if you would have had his Chocobo back there, he would have been in a lot better of a spot.
Because it's 2 things here. The minion wave not pushing towards him. Yeah, going for that ward. You can definitely criticize him for going for that ward.
Yeah.
Because he is so vulnerable, and that's always a risky thing to do and almost never worth it up against an Elise, because if you're in ward range, you're in cocoon range. So it is also a lot of Zig's fault. However, I do really always encourage junglers to help them remount. Meanwhile, down the bottom lane, we saw the arrow fire off and flash being blown there from Arrow himself.
And that's pretty big. I mean, again, this is another champion that doesn't have built-in escape mechanisms. With flash down, that means somebody's got to jump in front of it, or he's got to be real, real careful to not be in there. More hawk shots fired into that jungle time and time and time again. Lod is making sure he's not sleeping on keeping track of Mike.
Yeah, he's doing a good job of it. That one just barely misses. MikeYeaung cleared out the wolves just in time and was able to escape for now.
Tiamat done on Ssumday there in the top lane, done for Zig as well. Gonna see really standard builds out of these top laners. The classic Bruiser build, Tiamat into the Black Cleaver, into the Titanic Hydra evolution. Just the standard these days for top laners to make sure that they're effective at both dealing damage to the enemy carry, as well as surviving in the fights thanks to the big health pool. While the junglers, Runic Echoes plus that Tracker's Knife already completed for Shrimp means he does a lot of damage and he can help kind of keep track of what's going on around the map. A little bit slower progression here for MikeYeaung, who's still setting on the Caulfield's Warhammer, doesn't have his Tracker's Knife yet either, so taking a little bit longer to make sure he gets that money spent and comes online. He does have it in his pocket to spend, just has to go back and cash.
That's a good feeling, though. You got money in your pockets, just waiting to go to the store, cash in.
But it's a better feeling after you go to the store and you got the stuff that you wanted to buy.
Exactly. Much better to actually hold the items. That's why really that top lane play was so important and why we stayed on it for a while and kept talking about it, because the first blood going over to Elise, she's such a good early snowballing champion. Now you really got to worry about this brush. They'll know that one person is in there with that hit, but it doesn't reveal necessarily that the Elise is also down there.
Right. Could just be thinking, okay, Big's in the brush. We managed to nick him once with the arrow. No big deal.
And Arrow still doesn't have flash. Ooh!
Here comes the playmaking potential. Arrow comes out, stun out onto the Braum, but the route onto Elise could be trouble here. Shrimp goes up into the air, exhaust onto MikeYeaung. Dignitas will disengage.
Instincts there as Lee Sin hovering around bottom side for the counter gank. And little bit of a couple misses there, but good disengages.
Important to note how this jungle dynamic changes up too after they hit level 6. Elise is level 6, not big impact. Lee Sin's the opposite.
Lee Sin's definitely is, and he is in command still of the dragon kick, so somebody's gonna get flash kicked. Not gonna be in the bottom lane though, as both junglers leave, and the line of control wards for both sides still stands defensively, but Laud is just on him again with the hawk shots, constantly tracking him.
These hawkshot drones are just never leaving MikeYeaung alone throughout the entirety of this early game. Hats off to Laud for making sure he's doing a good job, always keeping track of that. First Drake, by the way, is Mountain. It's pretty juicy, pretty desirable of neutral objective to find. So both these teams could be turning their attention towards that if they can find themselves a fight win or a turret pickup or
that mountain juice, huh?
That mountain juice, yeah, the mountain.
It's like chocolate flavored.
Yeah, man.
Oh, Shrimp!
Shrimp in some trouble. Having to try to get himself away. The Galio comes into the fight. Shrimp now, what can they do? He's caught up between a rock and a hard place and a Taliyah, which means a lot more rocks. And Shady's the one grabbing the kill as MikeYeaung is stomped into the dirt before he can find the kill onto Keane. Zig makes his way into the fight with the TP. Ssumday now having to try to run, flash over the wall, but Zig is in hot pursuit. Keane tries to provide some covering fire, but it's not going to do it today. Phoenix1 gets 2 for 1.
So we did see him go for the flash kick, but Repel negated it for a while and had to wait for the delay. That allowed the counter kill to come through, but in the end, Phoenix1 still get the 2 for 1 and are able to, kind of overload members on the bottom side. No objectives pressured through, though, because it was definitely a very big back and forth there. An interesting little DPS given out at the end, even though Ssumday does eventually get chased down. Let's take a look here. So they catch Shrimp out, able to get the stun on him, but kick is delayed long enough for Galio to come in. And that kind of forces him to the other side here. So Keane unloading his DPS there into MikeYeaung allows Ssumday to finish it off. Then he walks away himself. But Ssumday turns around a little bit there, kind of wanting Zig to complete the teleport. I think he wanted to make sure that Zig used the full cooldown of the teleport and didn't cancel it there, but he got too close and didn't have his EQ cooldowns up. So he gets tagged up, and the chase potential of Braum definitely comes to fruition there with the extra kill going over to Phoenix1, and that gold definitely going to be put to good use. Now they're going to overload topside.
Pushing down top means that Phoenix1 could be going for turret first blood again here in game number 2. They got it for themselves in game number 1, which was part of the reason why they had those early gold leads that they did. If they can get it this time around, it'll likely be telling a same story. They're only slightly behind in terms of the overall economy right now, but Ssumday moves in time to stop that. Meanwhile, that Mountain Drake, that Mountain Juice we were talking about earlier, is going to be a tasty treat for Shrimp and the rest of Team Dignitas. Some more objective control as the game goes on.
I do love that Mountain Juice. It really puts so much more threat onto the Baron. baits that we are probably going to see as this game develops, because it's staying so close here through the mid game. And you talked about how many tools both teams have, right? How much initiation, how much crowd control. The playmaking ability is very high in this game. And Mountain Drake puts so much more emphasis on the vision baits around Baron, on those neutral objectives, and people setting up for picks.
Just taking a second off of the time it takes to secure some kind of objective like that can change whether or not a play is good or bad. But now Ryu and Keane just slugging each other back and forth, blow for blow, as the rest of the teams come in looking to make the fight. Stuns out onto a couple different people. Shady and Arrow finding themselves in a spot to help Mike get the first kill, as Shrimp will also drop along with Keane. 2 dead on the side of Dignitas, looking to see if they can make it 3. Phoenix1 sends in the cavalry charge, and Big is going to be roped up and brought down. Lod won't be able to do anything to save him.
Oh my goodness, Phoenix1 instantly collapsed. Without even the teleport there, Zig is able to ult down to cut off the extra kill, and this time around, they're pressuring on the turret. They should be able to beat Ssumday, who's trying to take first turret gold on top side. Yeah, there's no chance he catches up to 3 members, and Phoenix1 will claim it.
Phoenix1 with turret first blood, plus 3 kills heading their way. That is how you do an early game. Now up over 2,000 gold thanks to that one.
Yeah, no hesitation there as they immediately go for the 2v2. You see, Shrimp is almost just as close to this, but MikeYeaung immediately joins Ryu for that 2v2. So right off the board, there's a member advantage here for Phoenix1. And the duo lane coming up first meant there's no escape. So, you know, Lod is pretty much cut off from the whole fight. He never got to participate until the very end here, at which point Big is already dead. The trap has been set, it closes shut, and Phoenix1 able to get a bunch of kills as well as the very important first turret goal.
Now Dignitas is the team finding themselves having to think, okay, do we really want to take this next fight? Is this really worth actually fighting over? And this puts Phoenix1 in a spot where those things that we talked about in Champion Select, the walls and the cavalry charges and all these tools that they have to move around the map and force these issues are going to come in handy, because when you've got the lead, that's when you can start thinking with those and saying, look, we're going to make a move here, here, or here, and you can really be decisive.
Well, here is now Rift Herald's pit, as MikeYeaung's looking to pick that one up again to help out with getting down that last outer turret. What am I saying about last? They just traded another one there. There's plenty of them left. Top side, though, it looks like Zig with the kled has gotten enough pressure that they won't need to use it even. So Rift Herald can be saved for, you know, maybe a push on bottom side or even in mid lane. And they are just going to bring down the extra members to bully Ssumday off that top turret, eventually getting it.
Looks like they'd like to get the Rift Herald to find the tier 2 take here. Ssumday, the only person around defending this, means it shouldn't be an issue for Phoenix1 to find that.
Yeah, 4 members.
Oh, Rift Herald charges in, takes out over half the HP, and that'll be all she wrote. Continuing to march it down this top side. They're going to stick by this Rift Herald. This is not a set it and forget it, abandon it, and get the one turret.
If you put your love into Rift Herald and protect... Oh!
But now the counterattack has come. The Galio knock-up onto multiple people. Ssumday being forced to flash back, as Phoenix1 will not be running away today. They turn the fight right back towards Dignitas, who now have to retreat. Health bar's critical. Big barely walking away from that one as Shady goes too deep. He misses the winner's bite and drops.
Oh, Shady all by himself. Nobody's with him. Now Ssumday's looking to clean up.
Ssumday wants to go over the wall if he can. A double kill there for Shrimp. Arrow's actually going to get away.
This was a hilarious turn of events.
And it just got goofier. Shrimp walked a bit too close.
Round and round we go. Meanwhile, that whole time, that play was initiated without the damage of Lod, which initially I was going to say, oh, why are Team Dignitas going for this big play on bottom side while their AD carry is split pushing? But because Shady dives the turret, because Ssumday is able to get that teleport off behind them, delay the backs, and get the counter kills off, the split push worked out, and Lod's able to get 2 turrets on the bottom side right up to the inhibitor.
It's one of those things where Lod says, I told you guys.
Oh my goodness. All right, so initially here we're like, all right, look at all the crowd control, but they're lacking in damage. So there's no damage backing up this initiation from Team Dignitas. But you can tell, Ssumday just left your screen. He was the one who started that fight. He ran to the fountain, healed up fully, then teleports in the backside on the ward you can see right now. Meanwhile, Shady flashes in, diving big and misses his Q. Question mark, question mark, question mark.
Question mark pings.
And Ssumday, because of the presence of mind of this guy, this is why I keep on talking about how much I like Ssumday as an overall player. Not only do we see him go off in games and carry in the top lane, even in games where he's not massively ahead or doesn't have a split push champion or something like that, just makes such intelligent plays and calculated plays around even losing situations. But regardless there, a bunch of counter kills going back. You also saw the shove there from Ryu, killing Shrimp, so gold flying around.
Yeah, that was just everybody throws their money up into the air and you see how much you can grab off the floor. Both teams just...
The money tank?
The money tank, baby. All sorts of a fiesta happening in that fight. Now we're going to see yet another one. The root and the lockdown onto Big seals his fate, and that's a freebie for Phoenix1. Now Dignitas in retreat as P1 looks to make it even more locked down and beat up. As Shrimp gets himself in a spot where he's not going to be doing a whole lot more. 2 for 2 so far. Ssumday in the middle of the fight. Arrow going to be taken very low. Shrimp still looking to find the kill. A triple kill, though, for Ryu. As Shrimp gets himself killed. Only left alive. 1 versus 2. I don't know if it's going to work out too well today. Trying to get himself gone, but he is going nowhere but right back to the spawn platform.
Oh, he got it!
Pentakill for Ryu.
Holy fair! A pentakill with Taliyah in a 5v5 mid-game where the gold is very, very
20
close.
minutes!
That is actually insane to be able to get that many last hits on a skill shot champion like that. And this is the type of game you see where there are that many tools and that much initiation. Holy moly, I'm glad that they delivered with this one. Let's take a look at the start, because once one person is in, they're all in. Everybody's got crowd control to back it up with. Ryu gets down the wall to chase them. Flash kick there from MikeYeaung again to get the trade kill this time around. And then you think that Zig teleported too far away and he's not going to arrive in time, but he does because Arrow and Ryu kite out for long enough, and the threaded volleys just keep on coming through. Holy moly, and then he's finally able to get it here. That red buff being picked up early on from Ryu as well helped out so much. Not only the extra damage there to get the rest of his kills, but the health regeneration definitely pays off in a fight that long.
When you go from 1 kill to 6 kills in a single fight, now you are the hero of the day. 6-0-4 on that Taliyah. The Andres Torment, Morello Namicon, Sorcerer's Shoes, and another Blasting Wand already there building the next item. Ryu, last game, he was the one who had to go up against the monster that was Keane with the victor with the 7-0-4 scoreline. This time around, he's the dude who's the boogeyman in the closet that his opponents are going to have to worry about.
I do enjoy these money tank games, Captain. This is fun. And Ryu's the one picking up all the cash right now. As you said, extremely fed, and that is the person with the possibility of creating the biggest plays. Mid-game Taliyah can utilize this wall for, splitting up Team Dignitas, going for objectives. Right now, they're fighting over vision.
Here he comes. The wall's thrown down. Dignitas. Nope. Everything's fine. Just backing away for now. The charm out. This one's finding its way onto Arrow, who's going to be bursted down very quickly. Still alive for now. Not for long. See you later. Airborne, though. 2 members of Dignitas going to immediately be erased as the health bars continue to melt away. A double kill for Ryu will turn this into a 1 for 3.
All right, Zig's still on the chase as well. Doesn't have his ultimate, but he's right behind him.
Zig versus Big, and MikeYeaung's taking the kill credit.
Ryu's still able to push this wave up as well. That should be a very calm Baron. After all the action that we've seen, and all the members have dropped now, it's only Lod who has a chance of stealing. No, he doesn't have his arrow cooldown even. So this is 100% Phoenix1 reaping their rewards. Pentakill for Ryu, gets a couple more kills here, still hasn't died in this game. Now he's legendary, Baroned up as well, and Phoenix1 are not going down without a fight this game. They really want to push it to game number 3. All right, Big starts it off with that charm onto the Varus, and they take him down, but it doesn't matter because Ryu is so fed. Ridiculous amounts of damage coming out of him. MikeYeaung goes out there, chases off the back line here, and Phoenix1 are coming back swinging.
And you could see that Big tried to get on to Ryu, but he couldn't because the threaded volley was keeping him just slow enough. that the quickness could not catch up to that very, very fed Taliyah. So now Phoenix1, man, the world is their oyster. They get to crack everything open, they get to take whatever they want, and it's very, very hard for Dignitas to try to defend against this. Those Baroned up minions, real difficult for Lot at this point in time. He's got Infinity Edge and Shiv, but whew, this team is 7,000 gold down.
Definitely becomes very tricky now. 7,000 gold down, no vision to speak of out on the map, just a couple of sparse wards here in their own defensive jungle. And Team Dignitas are just trying to farm for late, trying to defend their turrets while the Baroned up siege is coming through from Phoenix1. Now, they have already sent Ryu down to collect this bottom wave, and they should be able to clean up this secondary turret pretty easily. Then the crunch time really becomes. Since it's so early in the game here, only 24 minutes, how quickly are Phoenix1 actually going to press inside for an inhibitor turret kill? Because those big neutral objectives, you know, you're going to have to wait another 2 minutes for the Baron buff to expire. So there's a lot of time to work with. They don't have to necessarily rush in, and they actually use it as a diversion. They cut off everyone defending bottom lane. What a nice switcheroo here from Phoenix1. They feint the bottom side.
Phoenix1 with the bamboozle onto their opponents as Dignitas now mounts their counterattack. Zig immediately dismounted from Skarl, trying to make this fight happen, get right back up there. Legendary for Ryu, taking down Keane. The push continues, the charge is sounded. Zig's underneath the Nexus turrets, finding the burst, gets himself the damage, drops the aggro, and it's a clean ace for P1.
Oh man, they are not playing around. 25 minutes into the game, looking to end it and push it to game 3.
This is actually GG. Phoenix1, in one of the most awesome performances that we have seen in a while, manages to find their win and take us to the third and final game in this series.
Oh my god, that game was fire.
Look at how casual he is. He got a pentakill and got to beat up everybody, and he is just gangster about it. That is perfect.
We've got two opposite ends of the spectrum. Captain Flowers and Ryu.
Hey, what about Big? Big's pretty excited too. I'm not the only excitable person here.
You have company. You have company on this end, but you're pretty far away from Ryu.
From this end, that's how you do it. That's how you get the 20-minute Taliyah pentakill. You're just at peace with yourself and the game and everything.
Not only did he get a pentakill, you know, not only was he, so big in those team fights and the constant skirmishes, but I just really thought that the way they ended this game out was a thing of beauty. Baiting the bottom push, which was the super obvious clean up the easy gold, using the Taliyah wall to cut them off after they'd committed to that defense was just, that was beautiful stuff.
That was really well done. And Phoenix1, obviously, they just had great plays throughout this whole game. Starting with 14 minutes in, you can see them get a 3-for-0 here against Dignitas.
All right. This game, it was crazy. We had a lot of skirmishes, but this was one of the best ones, right? Big went in, he got the double charms, and Shrimp was focused on this bottom skirmish. Meanwhile, MikeYeaung had gone in, and they won the mid laner 1v1, which earned them a lot of power here. So the early roam from their bottom lane, plus the focus fire, gets them the kill advantage in that skirmish super early on, and this is where the game really took off, right? 14 minutes into the game, you get that many kills. They also transitioned that into the first turret gold. So a bunch of gold to work with, and that's what really started the ball rolling.
And as that ball kept rolling, they kept taking control of the game. They got to the point where we saw this 17-minute base defense craziness from Dignitas as Phoenix1 mounted the attack.
17 minutes into the game, inhibitor turret they're on here, and Dig go for an initiation with their AD carry. You can see on the minimap, not there. So the damage, large part of it is missing. That being said, it was a pretty big win for Phoenix1 until Shady goes super deep. He's like, I'm gonna start getting some kills here. Then he flashes in here to try and kill Big, misses the Q and goes down. Plus, it delayed the rest of his team while there is a teleport from Ssumday in the backside, and he hesitated for 0 seconds there. As soon as he got chunked out in the fight, immediately went to the fountain, had his game plan, was able to cut off that kill. Meanwhile, the other kill's going through, and that's where it started just flying around. Everybody's picking up the money.
And we thought this is where the game was going to be crazy. But if this game taught us anything, is that things will get crazier
another replay for me
before they end up getting more normal. So now we're taking you to the play of the game. Ryu, the man of the hour, the man with the power, the pentakill.
All right, so this one starts off. Both top laners, you can see, are heading over to the skirmish. But one of them uses teleport down here to this bottom ward, and Zig has to go around this Taliyah wall. His ultimate goes the long way, and it takes forever for him to join the fight. In the end, it doesn't matter though. Ryu was just absolutely destroying Team Dignitas with his threaded volley. Also picked up that red buff super early on. And in the end, pentakill, able to get the last one here. Zig was letting him have it. You can see him just walking circles. What a true teammate.
Yep.
Not even trying to take it there. There's no possibility of it.
You got two types of teammates. You got the guy who deliberately will save a spell just to steal it away from you, people like you. And then you got the people like Zig who just walk around in circles, pretty much take the left hand off the keyboard. I'm not hitting a single thing. This is your pentakill. That was a really cool moment for Ryu, though. And it's not like it was just there for show either. After he had that, the amount of money, the economy surge that gave him meant that for the rest of the game, as short as it was, the game ended 5 minutes later, he was just able to put down so much damage and so much threat that we don't have a replay of the next big play that happened in sequence. But the thing...
The game ended.
The game ended, yeah. We got to watch that one just a couple of seconds ago anyway. But
sorry, where were you going?
No, where we were going was the Twitch play where they caught, not the Twitch play, the Varus play where they caught out the enemy AD carry. They're thinking, oh, look, we got Arrow. This is going to be the pick. This is going to be the fight. And then it doesn't work. It's like, hey, that's not Ryu. Sorry, you lose anyway. Dignitas, what normally would be a successful plan, isn't so successful when you're staring down the barrel of that incredibly fed mid laner. The teams are all tied up, but can Phoenix1 grab their first win of the split here in game number 3? That's the question. Meet us back here for the answer and the conclusion of this series. Don't go anywhere.